In WWE, matches can take place which see a changing of the guard. These matches represent a change in the hierarchy of the WWE roster and ultimately lead to one wrestler passing the torch to the other. If WWE executes these moments well, they can create long-lasting memories, but if WWE fails to effectively deliver the so-called passing of the torch, then the moment can receive extensive criticism and backlash. The moment itself doesn't have to literally feature one wrestler holding the other wrestler's arm. It can sometimes be a heel or a babyface putting over their opponent in a convincing manner. And it is then the job of WWE's commentary team to smartly convey to the audience what has just gone down. Let's look at 10 passing of the torch moments in WWE. Number 10. John Cena vs. Austin Theory. Heading into John Cena vs. Austin Theory at WrestleMania 39, there was a ton of pressure on Theory to deliver an exceptional performance. Theory's entire arc had revolved around him wanting to wrestle John Cena, and now he was getting the chance on the biggest stage imaginable. Cena, rather selflessly, put over Theory in the match, which was presented as a passing of the torch style moment, yet the fans outright rejected it. The problem was that Theory wasn't ready for such a huge victory, and the fact that Theory had to cheat to defeat Cena didn't exactly paint Theory as a credible threat. Another criticism was that the match wasn't great, as Cena had excessive ring rust, and there was just a lack of chemistry in the ring between the two men. Whilst it was appreciated that WWE did indeed try to make a new star with Theory, the timing just wasn't right, and the moment could have easily been used to elevate someone else who was on the brink of greatness. Number 9. LA Knight vs. The Miz. The rise of LA Knight has truly been a joy to watch, and LA was given a huge moment at the 2023 Payback event. LA wrestled The Miz, with John Cena as the guest referee. The Miz is one of the most consistent, reliable wrestlers in all of WWE, and it's been made clear how much WWE value The Miz, so to pair the two in a featured match on pay-per-view was a big deal for LA Knight. Additionally, the introduction of Cena as the special guest referee brought a brand new spotlight onto the match, as Cena, despite being semi-retired, is still one of the biggest names in WWE. The match itself was passable, but it was after the match in which memories were made. At the top of the stage, Cena would endorse LA by raising his hand high in the air. Some fans claimed that it was a forced moment, but Cena had been excessively praising LA in interviews, and there was no way that Cena would have done something he simply didn't want to do. Number 8. The Rock vs. Brock Lesnar. In the summer of 2002, The Rock's run as a full-time WWE star was coming to an end. The Rock had attained a reputation for being completely selfless in the ring, and he was going to show this yet again in the biggest way imaginable. The Rock would drop the undisputed title to Brock Lesnar in the main event of SummerSlam, and for many top stars, putting over a virtually untested star in the main event of a huge pay-per-view would have created problems, but The Rock welcomed the idea. The Rock brought his A-game to the match, as he made Lesnar look like the biggest star in the world, and it's no surprise that the two legends remain friends over 2 decades later. The victory was a significant passing of the torch moment, as WWE were going with Lesnar as the #1 guy in the company, and it would have been hard for the WWE audience to accept Lesnar in this position without The Rock's generosity. Number 7. Roman Reigns vs. John Cena. Seemingly out of nowhere, WWE decided to book Roman Reigns vs. John Cena for their 2017 No Mercy pay-per-view. This was a certified WrestleMania main event, but WWE were giving the match away at a random pay-per-view. This match was evidently designed to show fans that Reigns was now the top star in the company, yet the fans were having such a tough time in welcoming Reigns to such a prestigious role in the company. The match itself was decent, and after Cena put over Reigns, Cena endorsed him to the audience, which was met with a mixed response. The issue here was that it felt overly forced and lacked authenticity. For a passing of the torch moment to work, it needs to feel real and genuine, and this could have worked if Reigns had built up a positive connection with the audience. Number 6. Roman Reigns vs. The Undertaker. No Mercy 2017 wasn't the only time in which WWE decided to attempt a passing of the torch moment with Roman Reigns, as a few months earlier, WWE booked Reigns to take on The Undertaker at WrestleMania 33. Heading into the match, the Dead Man was intending to retire following the main event encounter with Reigns. The Undertaker was ready to call it a day, and he was going to put over Reigns and sail off into the sunset. The problem was that the match was atrocious. The Undertaker was struggling to keep it together physically, and Reigns spent all of the match being booed. The match was so bad that The Undertaker decided to cancel his retirement plans, as there was no way that one of the greatest names in WWE history was going to go out with a subpar match. WrestleMania 33 was supposed to be The Undertaker's special night, but it was also designed to put over Reigns in the biggest way possible. And a victory over The Undertaker at WrestleMania was bigger than any world title that WWE had up for grabs. The dead man himself was a big fan of Reigns both as a wrestler and as a human being, and he felt terrible about the disappointing match, so much so that the dead man would personally apologize to Reigns. Number 5. Raw is 30. One of the more memorable moments of Raw is 30 saw a segment between The Undertaker, Bray Wyatt, and LA Knight. For the segment, The Undertaker reverted to his American badass persona, and after Wyatt performed his Sister Abigail on LA, The Undertaker whispered something in Wyatt's ear before riding off on his motorcycle. A lot of fans have since labeled this as a passing of the torch moment, and in an out-of-character interview with Sportsnet, The Undertaker delved into why the segment was important and also offered some insight as to what he said to Wyatt. There's obviously a huge number of comparisons between his character and mine, and I think he's his own guy, he's his own character. I don't think it's fair to him to compare what he does to what I did. In the big scheme of things, it's kind of in that same supernatural, I don't know what genre. It's 2023 and he's doing his own thing, but I can appreciate it. I can see what he's trying to do, and I just let him know too. My phone's always on, and if he needs to talk to me about things or run things by me, that's cool. I would be more than glad to share my experiences with him and hopefully shine some light on maybe questions that he has moving forward. So yeah, it was a cool moment and it did exactly what I thought it would do. Number 4. John Cena versus Daniel Bryan. By the summer of 2013, Daniel Bryan had emerged as one of the most popular stars in all of WWE. Bryan was then sent to face the top guy in WWE, that being John Cena, for the WWE title at that year's SummerSlam event. Cena did the honorable thing in putting over Bryan, and after the match, Cena endorsed Bryan in the ring, and this was received extremely well by the fan base. The fans were ready for the torch to be passed, and when the wrestler receiving the torch is someone that the audience genuinely cares about, then it's always going to receive a positive response. Number 3. Shawn Michaels versus Stone Cold Steve Austin. When WWE arrived at WrestleMania 14, Shawn Michaels was getting set to take a step back from the company. HBK had a ton of personal demons, and his back was in less than stellar physical condition. WWE would book HBK to drop the WWE title to Stone Cold Steve Austin at the aforementioned WrestleMania event, and this was done to get the title off HBK and to pass the torch to WWE's new top guy. Austin had emerged as one of the most popular stars of all time, and WWE were going to enter a new era with Austin at the helm. Number 2. John Cena vs. The Rock 2. WWE made a daring choice in booking a rematch between John Cena and The Rock for WrestleMania 29. Their prior match at WrestleMania 28 was well received, but there was virtually zero demand to see a rematch. The logic from WWE's perspective was that the match would allow Cena to get his win back, and hopefully The Rock would pass the torch to Cena. This was problematic as Cena had already been the face of the company for the past 8 years, so the torch was already on Cena, meaning that any literal or figurative torch passing was going to be met with criticism. The match itself was a total dud compared to the WrestleMania 28 encounter, as the crowd just weren't invested in the action. As many fans expected, after the match, The Rock would endorse Cena at the top of the stage in a moment that felt overly forced and disingenuous. Number 1. Hulk Hogan vs. The Rock. It's often been said that Hulk Hogan losing to the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6 was a passing of the torch moment. However, Hogan has outright stated in an interview with WWE UK that he wasn't passing the torch in any way, shape, or form to the Warrior. There was a time when I was red hot in the 80s, and all of a sudden the 90s came, and it was time to pass the torch, but it didn't happen that way. I mean, they didn't have enough guys ready to lead at that time, so, we skipped a generation. It took time to pass that torch, which should have been passed at the end of the 80s. I mean, we tried with a couple of guys, putting the belts on them and stuff, but they weren't ready to run. They weren't ready like John Cena, they weren't ready like The Rock, they weren't ready like Stone Cold. So it's very, very important that the torch is passed in the correct way, and the guys that have all this experience don't just walk away. They stay there long enough to build the storylines, build the talent, and then pass the torch in the correct way. It's very, very important. Hogan would eventually pass the torch in a match with The Rock at WrestleMania 18. The match itself was extremely well received, with it being considered one of the best matches in WrestleMania history, and the passing of the torch moment between the two icons was presented perfectly.